Poor, so poor that their rice was animal feed quality, and their meals were cooked from food scraps from their neighbor's kitchen. If their meager plot didn't yield any vegetables, they would have rice with a half-boiled egg from one of their hens, mixed with some sugar. Many times, though, the only accompaniment to their rice meal was boiled Chinese coffee as their soup. On the rare occasion, there would be a treat, dessert made by mixing cornstarch, water and sugar, cooked slowly over a small fire. Mothers sewed their clothes from cast-offs from the relatives, while Dad worked at the transport company. She was the fourth child in a family of 5 girls, and like Joe in Little Women, she was the boy of the family. She tended the chickens and ducks they reared for eggs and meat. As young as she was, she found joy in looking for snails in the wild grass and digging up fat worms from the mud-covered drains. She collected the eggs, and when they got too old, she would help Mother kill and clean the ducks and chicken for their meat. Then, Dad lost his job. The family took to manning a mobile food cart, cycling from one housing estate to another, selling prawn noodles. It was her job every morning to first do the laundry and then sit and peel a mountain of prawns and slice the vegetables and onions. The family took on odd jobs to earn more money, including collecting old newspapers and empty bottles from the neighborhood to sell. She had to pitch in here too. She would clean the bottles by washing them with sand and water, making them sparkle. Night times were reserved for study and schoolwork, but there was one more task to carry out before going to bed. She and her sisters would alternate to give Mother a massage. How her heart rejoiced when she heard Mother say that she gave her the best massage. They moved to another city when one of the sisters began to work there. This time, the family sold curry noodles. Her fingers were bruised from cleaning cockles. Besides this, she had to cut vegetables and squeeze coconuts. She smelled of curry all the time, but ironically, she loves curries to this day. Her parents could not afford to buy new toys for her. Most times, she would watch from a near distance as her neighbors played with their new toys. Occasionally, she would watch movies on their neighbor's TV by standing at the door entrance. The sisters didn't have dolls or toys, so they made their own by cutting out and coloring scrap paper. They also created their own games with sticks and stones. 5 stones, fighting spiders, rubber bands tied together to make a skipping rope. They even played baseball using a short plank and an empty condensed milk tin. In school, there was no money to buy tidbits during recess, and she would go to the school chapel to rest. She avoided birthday parties because there was no money to buy a gift for her classmates. Even going to school was a challenge because the bus stopped 3 kilometers away, and wild dogs chased her as she walked the rest of the way to school. She had no books. The family couldn't afford to buy them. All her school books were under the government loan scheme for poor students, which must be returned to the school during semester breaks. When she was in year 5, she saw a book she liked at the book exhibition in school. Desperate to read it, she borrowed enough for a deposit. She went home to ask Mother for the balance, but was admonished for being so impulsive. How she cried when she realized how selfish she was to want to own a storybook when her family did not even have enough to eat. She apologized and promised to try and get a refund, but the next day, Mother gave her the money. She had borrowed it from a relative. That book was her most precious belonging, and she kept Little Women for 30 years. There were other little milestones. One such instance was when she was punished by her teacher for not being able to pronounce a word properly in English. She vowed to remedy the situation. She read aloud every day, and today she speaks and writes in English fluently. She also excelled in badminton, and with the kindness of her coach, who gave her money for proper meals, she was able to represent her school to compete in the inter-school state competition. Despite her burden, she topped her class every year, scoring 100% in almost every subject. She was given the Most Deserving Student Award for several years running. She was chief editor of the editorial board in high school. She remembers collecting her Year 12 high school results with mixed feelings of joy and sadness. Joy because she performed well in the examination, joy because she hadn't disappointed her parents, and joy because she had established a good testimony based on her faith in God. She was sad because she did not have the finances to pursue her ambition of becoming a lawyer. Sad because her classmates were celebrating and announcing their intentions to pursue their studies overseas, while she would have to start at the bottom of the office hierarchy. With results in hand, she walked alone to an open high ground behind the school, looked up to the heavens, lifted up her hands with the results slip, and cried out to God. She vowed to prevail. She then wasted no time searching for work. The nation was undergoing economic recession and jobs were scarce. Too many candidates and too few jobs. To make matters worse, many of these candidates were university graduates, and she was not. She was getting desperate. She needed a job, not only to support her family, but also to support her intention to pursue part-time studies in the evenings. She persevered, believing God will not forsake her. Did she succeed? From being a junior clerical staff in a small firm of only 3 employees, she progressed swiftly in her career to finally become one of the youngest managing directors of a multinational company of a Fortune Global 500 in the country. In February 2007, her life entered a new phase. She left her job as the managing director to emigrate to Australia. There, she became the author of the Mad series of business management and leadership titles and several spiritual and inspirational books. A fresh start, a new life, but she didn't forget. She wrote to her traditional conservative father and explained how grateful she was to him and how much she loved him. And by divine will, she was able to be with him, just she and him, when he breathed his last a few months later. She cherishes her mother each day, remembering her love and wisdom. She remembers how loved she was and how so many reached out to her to support and help, and she resolved to make a difference. Dear friends, she stands before you today to share her experiences with you, to inspire you, and she hopes that you will reach out and take her hand. Please meet Dywen Lauren.